We're told we need 1000cc engines and thousands of dollars spent on suspension to experience real adventure. But what if we forgot the meaning of that term? What is adventure? Sometimes all you need is 4 idiots on 4 Honda XR150s. Here's why the little machine is all the adventure you'll ever need. After a reasonable amount of celebratory drinks consumed in Hanoi, it was time to get to work. We were going to venture far off the beaten path, so first order of things, we had to find some spare tools. And these, being little Hondas, meant that you needed quite a lot of different spare tools.
This will take this.
So, the bike is so silent, it's like an electric bike.
As we were serious travelers with serious machines, we decided to head on our way. It didn't take long for us to realize that our wacky machines were far from the weirdest things out on the road. As the journey was going to include multiple off-road sections, we had to test the little capabilities of the Hondas, just to make sure they would be able to tackle the terrain in front. It didn't take long for us to realize one big limitation of the Hondas. Their power was severely lackluster.
Ce lack of power au motoretele astea.
As our friend Raresh got to test the sturdiness of the clutch, we had to move on.
Sorry sir, you do not have the facilities, dear sir. Hell. Uite-mă ce am agățat.
Că n-ai rupt maneta, pedala de frână. No, e ok.
Knowing that the bike's levers were sturdy as any others, it was time to continue our little first couple days shakedown.
No. Ai, ce mi s-a dus fața!
This was also a good way to test our luggage systems, and my leaning tower of Kriga held up perfectly fine. But then we got to the end of the trail. You'll see this will become a common theme quite quickly. You know, one crash doesn't tell the entire story of the reliability of a motorcycle, so just to be sure, we had to crash them a few more times on those first days.
Ai picat! Ai! Așa.
But the Hondas kept on going. As we were serious dirt bike testers, we also had to do a little drag race, just to make sure our Hondas were all equally matched.
3, 2, 1, go!
And since two of us has previously done rallies, we had to make sure the XR150s were good at going quickly too. As night was falling, we reached the end of a road. But this one we couldn't just U-turn out of it. We had to somehow get across the lake. So we had an idea.
So, this is our ride for the other side of the lake. Riding in style, you know? Bien, Víctor. Bă, filmez cu GoPro.
2, okay. 1 and come back.
Ah, okay, perfect.
Where are you from?
Hmm?
Where are you from?
Romania.
Romania?
Romania.
Yes. Europe. Europe, Europe.
Europe, Europe,
yeah.
yes, Europe. Okay.
Once landed on the other side, we thought we were safe. But rain in the previous days meant that getting out of the little island proved to be a little tricky and testing for the clutches on our little Hondas.
It's okay. Woo, thank you.
Am eu. Numai că portret.
In just a few days, these little farm bikes showed us a real, unfiltered side of Vietnam. They were never meant to do this, with no power, lacking suspension, or any modern features. And yet, they kept chugging along. But the trip had just begun, and this was going to pale in comparison to the challenges ahead.
Tree on the inside, here goes Valentino Rossi! Yeah!
It's really funny when sometimes crossing the river feels less sketchy than the bridge. But there was one thing we hadn't tested yet. How would an XR do in something like a riverbed or a rock garden?
Vai făcut, dai drumul la ambreiaj, mă.
Trebuie să te urască pentru asta!
With the river test passed with flying colors, it was time to take the Hondas on something a bit different, a bit faster. Maybe that's more their habitat, right? One slight issue with the ergonomics was that the frames of these bikes aren't really made for standing up, and also my leaning tower of Krieg at the back wasn't helping much either. It's hard to describe the satisfaction of making a wheelie on a bike that feels less powerful than a bicycle.
Wheelie! Făcut un wheelie! Man! Man! Hai să ne... Da. Ah, dar ești chivat la încă o poză.
Să văd dacă direcția e aia.
Hai că vin și eu acolo.
After saying hi to the local villagers and finding our friend, the future wife, it was time to move on, as the trails ahead were still long and more to come.
Aici mai cu gasolina. Era râs. Nu-i greu.
Here's a tiny issue with the little Hondas. If you stop on something that's too steep, a good thing is that you are basically never gonna loop the bike. The bad thing is, you ain't starting from that place either.
It's full gas.
Da.
It's hard to believe from the video, but for us this trail was remote, incredible. But for the locals here, this was their day-to-day road. People would commute with scooters and this was their home. Just a couple families lived on top of it, but it's part of Vietnam that you do not get to see in guided tours. And there's the thing about where such a bike can take you. You thought you've seen it all, and then 5 minutes later, you're in for something even more extraordinary.
Dar încă tu, că nu știu, n-am ajuns în capăt, încă de ce mă duc o... Uite, să dată Man. The shit. Nu vine să las mai în spate.
We took in the scenery, successfully turned around without falling to our death, and it was time to keep on going.
Hai, cum te-ai oprit?
Unsurprisingly, it didn't take long for us to get lost. Again.
I'm no expert, but I don't think this is the road. Definitely not.
We pushed through to arrive at the northernmost point of Vietnam, right next to the border with China. It was fitting, as our purebred Japanese bikes were actually made in China. But as we got there, we felt pretty underwhelmed by all the touristy stuff. So we had to find our own way. And a little road turned into a path that soon turned into... well, you'll see.
Oh! Pare intact. Am lovit cu ceva. Nu cu corpul meu.
I'm pretty sure these were supposed to be stairs and not an actual road, but honestly, in Vietnam, making the difference proved to be quite a challenge.
Dacă venim. Imediat m-am picat, nu te opri fix aici, da. Venim. So that is China. This is Vietnam. China, Vietnam. Dai. Pachet bagajul. Pachet bagajul. Ok, mult.
Pe acolo mergem. Opa! Pivotează în curbă. Opa! Zero power! Hai că e chiar ok trail-ul pe aici.
Soon, without planning to, we got to do another suspension test on the bikes. And let's say those little farm bikes didn't exactly pass it.
Da. Oh. Am lovit ce... Bă, du-te!
Bă, suspensele astea shit as Au! Scuze.
Bă, dar zic că vin, eu mai fi m-am speriat.
Scuze.
Can a Honda XR150L do hard enduro? Question that nobody has ever asked, but question that we're here to answer for you. At this point, we were far from any sort of beaten path or dotted line on the map.
Ce poziție am abordat!
Prima balerină.
We could see the end in the distance, so we had to, one way or another, get there. But getting there proved to be a bit more challenging.
Rareș, Rareș. Vin din spate, ăla, bun, e bun. Fața acum, fii jos vreau. Ok. Rareș. Jos. Sau asta.
Honda și în șanț. Stai, nu știu.
But in the end, we have made it. Now it was only time to repair all the broken bits. On the side of the road, of course. Or monument, to be more precise.
All good.
That's the thing about these little farm bikes. They're so easy to fix. You don't even need a hammer, you can use any rock and you just put them back together and keep on riding. Your adventure never has to stop. No electronics, no nothing.
So, ein Problem? What is the problem here, sir?
O surubelniță.
Oh, this is factory. This is factory.
With the factory bike fixed, it was time to get moving again. Only to get lost in someone's garden. Again.
În partea altă.
Just when you think you've seen it all, Vietnam constantly reminds you of the practicality of scooters. You know that moment when you think you're on the fastest bike on the road, nobody can overtake you, and then a little scooter kid without a helmet just passes you like there's no tomorrow. By this time, we've spent more than 30 minutes on the street and some of us got bored. So obviously, the only option was to take the first path that looked interesting. And we did. That's the thing with these little bikes, they allow you to just go and explore without much consequences.
Welcome to the jungle. We have fun and games. Yo, yo, yo. Au, asta e cu țepi.
Since my brake lever passed the integrity test, it was time to keep on moving, head on the road, and share some love for the tiny little Hondas. And then quickly find our next off-road spot.
N-ai văzut nici motocicletă cu remorcă, vezi? E fantastic că trebuie să ai văzut să iei interzis cu remorcă.
Of course, a little friendly racing hasn't hurt nobody, and Honda has made race bikes, some even under the XR name, so these are basically race bikes, right? Once again, it's easy to forget as a Westerner that these aren't just off-road trails, they're not for enjoyment. These are people's actual roads, their way home.
Uite ce motor așa de asta.
And there's nothing more humbling than an old Vietnamese guy on a clapped out motorcycle just showing you around the trails.
Ai ce skill.
Eu ești pe... O să merg în spate, cred. Nu cred că ai avut gripe pe piatra aia. E pas posibil, cred că le gripe nu există. Da. Eu vreau numai să nu mă uit. Bă, față de aia cu scuterele chiar avem suspensii. Master Honda Scenic doar.
After several days of constant punishment on the little Hondas, they just kept working. Nothing we threw at them would break him. And while doing that, it got to show us a real side of Vietnam, raw, unedited. This was a real adventure, and we didn't need to be on a big GS to do it. In fact, this was probably better. Way better. When having fun, it's easy to forget about the dangers, and there were plenty. In order to keep ourselves safe, we had to be serious about it.
Ce-ar fi de să le lemne aici. Stânga, fii stânga. Exact.
Dă-i rare, nu te teme.
We had our fun, but the sunny weather of the first week started to turn around. What used to be warm and fuzzy turned into a muddy, slippery, wet mess. And pretty cold.
What are you wearing?
Over the entire trip, we had one flat tire, one broken key, and one almost broken throttle cable. But that was it. Considering what we've done to these bikes, they were taking it like champions. As the weather didn't improve, we made the executive decision to stop our trails and head down south quickly. We would take the main roads, but that was a decision we would kind of get to regret. Because here we faced the real king of the Vietnamese jungle, bus drivers.
How are you enjoying the weather?
Huh?
How are you enjoying the weather?
It's awesome!
You like the weather? What is that? Big hug.
A few cold and miserable days like this on end can really stretch the relationships within such a group of friends. It's important for us to remember that ultimately we're adults. Since at this point we were doing long stretches of open roads, it would have been a shame not to test out the canyon carving capabilities of the little XRs. And look, this bike can overtake other bikes. As long as those other bikes are other XRs with heavier riders or tiny scooters. It's something. Just make sure you have enough business days to complete the overtake, of course. We've seen fires, we've seen storms, we've seen everything. Except for off-road trails. It had been a rare sight in the previous days. Until we found this little gem. The little XRs were tested on the streets, in the mountains, on single track, hard enduro. There was only one place where we haven't really put them through, and that's sand. Can 12 horsepower survive a beach? That's probably a question no one has asked until now. By this point, we were approaching the end of our road trip. Two of our friends had these things called jobs, so they had to skip the last couple days.
Ce văd.
This is the point where I started to doubt the 12 horsepower of my Honda were actual horses. I think they were more like ponies. Because in first gear, it would simply not drag my ass up the hill. It just wouldn't do it.
Bine că ea singură urcă ușor.
With our trip approaching the end, we figured it was only time to do a bit more spirited riding, to enjoy the last couple days of us riding these beauties in a country that has shown us so much.
Thank you. Hoppa! Hoppa! Whoop!
As far as Vietnam goes, it was surprising. I came in with no expectations and it still managed to impress me. It showed us a wild side, civilized one, a real country of contrast. Between the rich and the poor, between vast mountains and beautiful beaches. It's a country that kind of has it all. As for the little Hondas, this last little climb just showed how sturdy these bikes really were, and showed us that you don't need the latest bikes to have an adventure. We rented the bikes for $500 for 3 weeks. All you need is an airplane and a few $100 to cover your accommodation costs, and that's it. You can have the adventure of a lifetime. An adventure that you simply can never forget about. When you think that you could either upgrade an exhaust on a new GS, or have a trip like this, I'm pretty sure which option I would take nowadays.
Gata condițiile. Ce cald e.
Băieți, luăm cazare astăzi?
Na.
Cristi? Cristi,
Ce cazare?
luăm cazare pe Ho Chi Minh azi?
Da.
Rareș? Luăm cazare pe Ho Chi Minh.